This is All Access MMA.
It is so great to see my next guest back in action. She's going to be in the Octagon this Saturday, taking on Joselyne Edwards. It is Jessica Rose Clark, Jess, back here on the program. Jessica, how are you?
Hi, I'm amazing. How are you?
I think that's the first amazing answer I've had all week, so I love the positivity. And like I said, it is great to see you back in action. I know you've been out for a while with some injuries. Just sort of, for people who might not know, kind of take us through this last year, just being on the sidelines and dealing with another injury.
Yeah, so I tore my ACL in that fight with Sarah, as most people know, and had surgery a year ago. I think this fight is 1 year, 1 week from my surgery. So the last year has really just been, well, not the last year, the last 6 months has been dealing with that. And then the first 6 months has been dealing with that. And then the last 6 months has been getting back into full training, It actually hasn't been too bad. I got to, I think having a little bit of time away, forced time off, really helped me evaluate where I am with everything and what I want to do. And also, I feel like, because this is the second major injury I've had in the last, 2 years, 2.5 years. And I feel like it really highlights your mortality within the sport, and then being confronted with that, being confronted with the thought that, hey, someone else's actions, because I didn't tear my own ACL, Sarah tore my ACL, right? So I'm like, someone else's actions can cause me to either have this incredible amount of time off or not be able to compete again, So it really forced me to figure out where I want to go with this and then kind of what I want to do next and start putting a few things into action for the next step beyond fighting, So
that was something I was going to ask you, actually, is I noticed you've spent this last, little bit working on your brand, doing different things. I know you're doing some coaching, some online stuff. How important has that been in, just sort of developing the brand beyond fighting? Because I know, like you said, there's no retirement plan for fighters except for your brand. So how important has that been over this last period?
Super important, and as I'm building mine bigger and bigger, I'm realizing just how many doors it can open, Just, I want to say, in the last 3 months, I've had some incredible partnerships and opportunities come across my table, that if I wasn't working as hard as what I am to build myself as a name, not just within the MMA industry, but outside as a personality, I wouldn't be having these opportunities. And I try to tell a lot of my friends that are also fighters the same thing. Like this sport is 70% entertainment, 30% actual athletics and fighting. If you're not, you can be the best fighter in the world, but if people don't want to see you, they don't want to see you. Like you can be amazing for that 15 minutes in the cage, but if you got no personality or you're a dickhead outside of it, people don't want anything to do with you. So that's, So for me, it's been very important because I obviously I'm 34 this year, so I only got a few more years left doing this. I mean, I could be Holly and do it, into my 40s. Who's other? Marion Renault, she was in her 40s, which body permitting, cool, but there's going to be a time within the next decade where I'm not going to be doing this anymore. And I feel like a lot of fighters make mistakes is they wait until the day that they retire to figure out what's coming next, and just because I'm thinking about what's coming next and building stuff outside of this doesn't mean I'm not 100% committed to what I'm doing. I'm just making sure that when I'm ready to leave, there's not this lull where I'm going, fuck, how do I make money? How do I survive? Do I have to go back to Australia? Do I have to do this? So I think it's important. I wish that a lot more fighters would do it, honestly.
And last thing, sort of outside of fighting, just because I have to ask, I think this is the first interview we've done in the last bit where you're not in the RV. Did you sell it? What happened with the RV? Or are you still living in it? What's the latest with that?
No, so I started dating this guy who lived an hour and a half away. And so I ended up moving out closer to him and I sold the trailer. And now, we broke up a while back, but and then I moved back out towards my gym because I was driving in an hour and a half to get to CSA every day, which was ridiculous for So I moved back out by my gym into an apartment, and I'm actually trying to buy a school bus right now. Is my plan is to buy a school bus, build in a school bus, and then go back to the RV park because I think I'm born to be a gypsy because I really just don't like living in four walls. It's just every day I feel like I'm in a fishbowl, I have too much stuff. I have too much shit that I don't need. There's too much space. Like in the trailer, it was so simple and beautiful. It was just me and my dogs, and we literally only had what we needed day to day. You know, there was no room for extra just rubbish that you spend your money on. So I'm really excited for that. I'm going a little stir crazy. My apartment is beautiful. I love my apartment, but I'm going a little stir crazy, kind of being locked into one space. So I'm excited to buy a school bus, hopefully after this fight, build it in, go back to the park.
Let's talk about your opponent here, Edwards. 10-3 record, a little bit bigger than you in this fight in terms of the height and reach. But how do you feel like stylistically you match up against her here?
Oh, great. You know, I always think she's a striker as well. So I always think that striker versus striker fights have the potential to be really fucking boring or to be really entertaining. So that's kind of what I'm excited for. Plus, you know, I saw a couple of people, I've read a couple of things about her. They're like, oh, she has amazing Muay Thai as well, because I obviously come from a Muay Thai gym, but all I see of her really is boxing. So I'm like, I feel like it's a good boxing versus Muay Thai fight, you know, which I think is exciting. I think it has the potential to be really fucking boring, which if it is, I apologize, or really exciting, which is kind of what I'm leaning towards. Like, I feel like I'm coming off a good win, you know, my skill set's developed a lot. I'm a much better athlete, much better fighter than I was even a year ago. So I'm excited. And I'm also excited because the last couple of people I've fought haven't had the size that she has. And I'm only a small bantamweight, so I feel like this is kind of the first step into growing into the division, really, you know? So
yeah, you posted that cool photo as well I saw on social media of where you weigh the same, but you can see that obviously you've made progress in terms of your conditioning and all that stuff. So it kind of just goes to show that, like, you know, you're growing into the weight class, like you said, right? So I'm sure that's part of it. Seems like the cut's going well, by the way, ahead of the fight, right?
yeah, I feel good. Honestly. Every fight is a learning process. Last time I only had 2 pounds to cut because I was walking around like 143 the whole camp, you know. So my mission since then has been to put on a bit more muscle mass and just build into the division without having to do ridiculous weight cuts, because I used to have to do that for 25. Like, I don't want to do those cuts anymore. And the way I felt in my last fight, just my conditioning, like physically, I felt amazing. And I really do attribute that to not having big weight cuts anymore. So I'm happy to still be a little baby bantamweight. But I just got to make sure that the strength and the skill set matches the lack of size, you know?
And you've been doing a lot of cross training. I saw, you know, again, trying to, you know, get some clues here on Instagram and try and figure out what you've been up to. But, you know, I saw you working with Deron Wynn. Who are some of the training partners you've had an opportunity to work with ahead of this fight?
Oh man, I've been all over the place. I'm so lucky to be in the position that I'm in right now, because I feel like I have access to just the best of everything. Like, obviously my gym, CSA, one of the best striking gyms in the country. So I have all my training partners there. I have my coach there. I've been cross training with El Nino, Gilbert Melendez, and Kerry Melendez, which has been amazing. I got a new boxing coach at El Nino as well, which has been really good. I train at Team Alpha Male 3 times a week. I'm training, yeah. Yeah, so I'm there 3 times a week. I train a lot with Macy Barber. I train a lot with a couple of their male fighters as well. And then this camp in particular, I started wrestling at DC's Academy. So not at AKA, everybody, not at AKA, at DC's Wrestling Academy. And that has really been a game changer for me. DC is an incredible, incredible coach. And he's so mean to me, but it's like in a really nice way. You know, like the other day I was trying to do cage work when he wanted us wrestling in the open mat, and he was like, get your fat ass off the wall, get your fat ass off the wall, you're being lazy. And I was like, oh yeah, fair, that's justified. It is fat, and I was being lazy. But yeah, no, he's an incredible coach, a really, really incredible coach. Yeah, and then I grapple. My jiu-jitsu coach is Adam Piccolotti, who's a Bellator 155er, and I grapple at his gym once a week as well. So yeah, I'm kind of all over the place. And then I do conditioning. I do all my strength and conditioning with another coach in Sacramento as well, who's like the team conditioning coach for Alpha Male. And then I hired him as my personal guy as well. So yeah, like I'm literally, some days I drive 5 hours to get to and from different training sessions. You know, I think I'm clocking like 1,000 miles a week right now, but one, it appeals to my gypsy heart, to my gypsy nature, being able to be on the road that much and to be able to experience so many different styles and things and people and coaches and training partners. And two, I really feel like I'm getting just the best of so many different teams, and I'm just so grateful to be able to, and I'm so grateful to have a head coach like Kieran who not only allows it but encourages it and enforces it. Like he's the one who makes all those relationships
Yeah,
happen.
that's great. No, you're customizing it. And at the end of the day, it's an individual sport, so that's great. You're doing everything that's sort of good for you. Something you brought up there about Cormier and kind of him giving you a hard time. We had obviously a fight over the weekend with Norma Dumont and Aspen Ladd, and much has been made of the cornering advice from Jim West. There's been two sides of this. I know Miesha Tate, for example, thinks he was a little bit too harsh. Laura Sanko and DC and others sort of coming out and saying, hey, I want a coach like that in my corner. What did you take away from that fight? I was just curious.
Honestly, I think if she had won that fight, no one would have an issue with his cornering. That's all it is. People have an issue with it because she lost. But you got to understand, like, one, those two, Jim West and Aspen Ladd, have spent literally her entire career together. And not only has he been her coach, he's also her partner, her life partner, So the level of understanding that they have with each other is different to even my level of understanding with Coach Kieran, who I've been with for 2 years. Like it's different. He knows her in and out. That sounds disgusting, but he knows her really well, and I do think if she had won that fight, no one would be complaining. They'd be like, yeah, like her cornering got her all fired up, and you saw she did. I think she won rounds 4 and 5. And a lot of that was because he's so fucking honest with her. There's nothing worse than yes men in this sport. And there's a lot of yes men. There's a lot of people who just want to make you feel good and everything is fairies and rainbows and butterflies. But there's a handful of coaches who are really great at what they do because they're not afraid to be honest with their athletes. And Jim West is one of them. My coach Kieran is another, James Krause, Eric Nixick, like small handful that are always going to be super blunt and honest with their athlete. And I think that's amazing. That's what we need.
How do you envision the fight playing out? You said it there, it's either going to be boring or it's going to be really exciting. There's kind of going to be no in between, but how do you envision the fight playing out? Because I know you feel like you're going to win. Otherwise, why sign the contract?
Yeah, true. True. Fair. Honestly, my whole goal for this fight is just to be as Australian as possible. It's just to be tough and be a dog and just make it the hardest fucking night of her life. That's it. And that's honestly my goal these days with fighting. My goal is like, if I win, fuck yeah, we all want to win. If I lose, whatever, it's just a part of the sport. But if you fight me, it's going to be the hardest night of your life. Whether you come away with the victory or the loss, it's going to be the hardest night of your life. So that's kind of my goal for Saturday night is just, it's going to be fucking tough. It's going to be tough.
Implications of this victory, where do you sort of see yourself? I know, again, you've had some injuries you're dealing with, but do you even care about that? Or are you just like, I got to fight and we'll sort of reassess after this? What are you thinking sort of with the implications?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to keep fighting, And I know I called out Miesha Tate a little while back, and then when Sugar Sean said that thing about like not taking higher ranked opponents because he's not getting paid to fight higher ranked opponents, although I'm pretty sure he's getting paid a lot more than me, but that made a lot of sense, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm calling out Miesha Tate, but she's making $200K and I'm making a fraction of that. So that doesn't make sense to me right now, I'm happy to just fight and I want to make money and I want to have good performances because then that's my argument to make more money. That's how I get more eyes on me. That's how I become financially stable, which like, oh yeah, a championship and a belt are cool, but they don't necessarily put dinner on your table, or pay your bills. So yeah, like I just want to keep fighting. I just want to fight.
How many fights do you have left on your contract?
This is the first one of my new contract. So I got
congrats.
A new contract.
I didn't know that. Did you sign that just before when this fight was announced?
No. Mick gave me that contract for my birthday last year. So like a month and a half after my knee surgery.
I didn't know that. Okay, cool. Well, congratulations. I mean, that must feel nice.
Yeah.
The company's behind you. It's not like you're worrying about the last fight or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, especially immediately after a surgery. That made me feel a lot more secure than I think because I think I still had one fight left on the current deal. So I think I would have felt like a little nervous about it if I was still in that position, but I am very grateful. Mick gave me a very nice birthday present. Thank you, Mick.
And you just gave me a very nice interview, Jess. Always appreciate the time. I know we went a little late, but hey, what are you going to do? Just remind people where they can get a hold of you on social media. And I know you got some things you want to plug, sponsors, all that. I'll give you the floor. You get the last word here.
Oh, thanks. It's just Miss Jessie Jess on everything. Jessie with a Y. And I am about to release a fitness app. So if you want to learn boxing or kickboxing off me, you can sign up for the app in December. It's called Trifecta Strong. We're on Instagram. The link is in my bio. Go and sign up. We have Zoom classes, and then soon I will be in your living room. Like you have a Peloton, instead you will have a Jessie teaching you kickboxing in your living room.
Do you get to swear in this app, or is that forbidden? Because I would want you to swear, otherwise I wouldn't feel like it was actually you, because that's your personality.
You know, I thought about it, but when you see my classes, because we've been filming for a year now for this app to be released, and when you see my classes, they're very much me. Good. Without the cussing, but they're very much Jessie. So no fear there.